Welcome to Blogging for Programmers. I'm Louis Davidson. Today, I wanted to encourage you to realize that you don't have to start out perfect or even good. I did not. I did actually start out writing a book because I loved the subject and I wanted a book on the subject. And a publisher said, "Hey, would you like to write a book?" And I was like, "No, I don't want to write a book." But they were like, "You should write a book on this topic. Somebody needs to. Why not you?" So I did. See the little red book right there. And it was the biggest mistake of my life in some respects because I was a terrible, terrible writer. And I even today, my style is not exactly the best style in the world. It's thorough. I have a very thorough style. I chose that as my style. And that means I overwrite. I write as much as I can on topics. And sometimes maybe it's a bit too much when I think about it. But it's never too much when I go back to it and I need it. So that's, again, episode 1. I like to say, the first 10 million words are practice. And I realized maybe that's not as many as I thought. So if you write 1,000 blogs and you put 1,000 words each in them, that's 1,000,000 words. Some of my blogs are probably 2,000 or 3,000 words. I don't usually count words. I count space generally. People are going, when you're reading a tech blog, you're reading the words probably only if the code doesn't make sense sometimes. And I know that. And the words are there to build a narrative, to make it fit good, to feel like something that you're listening to, but you're just reading it instead. Now, I like to say that this process of writing these 10 million words is hard, but it's also easy. It's hard because you have to get started. You have to make it happen. You have to write them down and you have to do a little bit of work to make sure they're as good as you can possibly make them. And even that is dangerous because possibly make them is tough. They're as good as you want to make them. They're as good as you feel like you need to make them to get your point across. And it's easy once you get started. If you've ever taught or spoke or, learned how to do something, you just write that down. Okay. It is a very rewarding thing to do. You sit down, you write a blog, you post it, and someone reads it and says, "Hey, that's good," or bad, right? Because they read it. And if they say it's completely bad, that's one thing. But usually they'll say, "This isn't quite right." Or sometimes I'll get, "You've got typos." I have no problem with that. I'll talk about my editing process someday, but it's very rewarding. It's something that as a presenter, I presented at a good number of SQL conferences. And the one thing you really learn is that there's not that many people you're really affecting at the time. It's more about your ego. Yeah. No, it's more about your presence in the community and people knowing stuff than it is the number of people. Because I've spoken a lot of SQL Saturdays, primarily SQL Saturdays, and usually you have 10 to 50. 50 is a really high number. 10's sometimes a pretty normal number. If you pick, as I so frequently do, topics that aren't like big sellers, but they're necessary. That's not a presentation talk here, but if you find that niche that you can fill, it's great. Not as important with blogging as it is with other things, but as speaking, because when you're making a slate of speakers, you want someone who speaks a certain way. You're writing your own blog, people are reading it if it's interesting to them at the time. Even a bad read count for a blog is going to be 10 to 50 or maybe 100 over time. And you've done more than you would have done if you'd spoken. Not completely, because they don't necessarily have to finish the whole blog, right? It's a very complicated situation. And I talked about this in episode 4, I believe, where I talked about, success and failure both hurt in different ways. Like success feels good and is bad. And failure feels bad, but is also good because you learn from it. But once you get that one person, well, let me put it this way. There's 2 ways it's very rewarding to me. One, somebody comes up to me and says, "I read your blog, book, or whatever," and says, or this video, Just saying, if you feel like it. And they say, you helped me. Doesn't matter if it's one person, and it doesn't matter that we all pretty much go to the same conferences. Some people travel around. Sometimes it's year to year we go to the same conference. At least I do. And you get that one compliment, right? That's heady stuff. You get really kind of, it goes to your head. But it's really rewarding. So it pushes you onward and onward. It can also be infuriating. Okay. And why? And the reason is finding things to write about that interest you to write about, that you think other people are going to want to read. It can be tough because you want to spend your time as efficiently as possible, write a blog, make it useful, learn something, get a few readers, get something out of it, et cetera, et cetera. And it just takes time. And sometimes you're like, I don't want to work on this, but you need to, you want to get a rhythm going, and getting a rhythm going is really hard, to say the least. And the last one I'm going to say for now, it is addicting. So I'm during this time period, I'm writing a little less. I'm recording these videos pre-December, and I'm going to schedule them, and I'm just going to enjoy December. Will I write during December? Most likely, because I just get I get that urge. I got something I want to say, and you can only write down so many notes. I've got notes for every single 24 episodes of these that I'm going to put out already written up, because you just sit there and you start doing it. And once you've done this writing thing enough, it's an addiction. You want to write some more. And it's not bad addiction. It's like being addicted to exercise or something. It's not bad, but it is, you really want it. You want to do it again, and you want to do it again. And when you're really addicted to it is when you don't care if anyone reads it, really. You like it, but you don't care. And that's a big, big thing, right? I care that people like it. Oh, no, that's bad. I may not want to keep working on it. I'm happy that someone reads it and likes it. Yes. But I care that I wrote it, right? And that I'm going to get something out of it later, of my own, at the very least. Not that you sit down and read your own blogs all the time, but you do go, I built one of those. Oh yeah, I did that. I've done that with one of my books. So my graph book. I don't know if I've said this because I sort of had to re-record some things. I can't remember if I threw up the book in another one, so I'm not going to do it. But I was working on a project recently, and I was like, I need to remember how to do that. And I want to use the graph tables in SQL Server for this. Like, I wrote a book on this. I don't even get the book, and I've remembered how to do some of the things that I'd done because I knew where it was at because I wrote it. Unlike that interviewing blog, I still can't find. One of the things that all of this leads to is you trying to find a way of putting things out. And you want to know how you work in your style, and we'll talk about that more. Because one of the things I like to do, and I really like doing this myself, this is what gets addicting, is I want to say, I'm going to do blank. And whatever I fill in the blank is, I can then teach the reader how to do that task or how to build that thing. And writing is one of those. I'm going to try to share all the things I do that make me want to write, that make it easier for me to write, and not get bogged down in the stuff that who cares about. So again, think of it as practice. Every time you do it, you just practice. Maybe someday you're going to sell an article to a paper, or you're going to be paid to write. Then you're going to amp it up. Then things are going to change. We'll talk about that later. I'm just giving you, I want to talk about just, when you're doing it for the first time, or doing it for over and over for yourself, don't get bogged down in the details. Don't worry too much about it. Just enjoy it. All right. That's been episode 6. Thank you very much. Till tomorrow, or the next time. Someday.